tat. Words can build or words can break. Speak the truth for all our sake. A hand that feeds can also bind, but peace can free a restless mind. Fix the cracks, don't paint them bright. The world's not whole without the fight. So rise and speak, don't just comply. Change the script, don't live the lie. Counter this, counter that.
Right, but I would argue that inflation can also come from supply and demand also without any effect coming from gold, silver, dollar currency valuation. I mean, so inflation can exist without dollar deflation, but it can't. They usually exist together just out of convenience. But you can still have inflation without having a weakening dollar. We just happen to have both. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're defining inflation as an increase of supply versus the demand, then yeah, but that's not how I define inflation. I just
The
call
textbook,
that excessive supply, right?
yeah,
Or
the
not
textbook
enough
is
supply.
the rise in overall prices across an economy, meaning each unit of currency buys fewer goods or services. So by definition, it's that. But you can get that also from demand outpacing supply, so on and so forth. Like when we had shipping issues going on, there was a reason for inflation to be there regardless of what the dollar was doing, just because they couldn't get stuff to the shelf quick enough,
Well,
and people wanted toilet paper. you know,
well, the fatal flaw with that reasoning is that you're measuring toilet paper and the cost of goods and services against the dollar. If you would have measured it against gold, gold is and silver does an accounting of the currency in place. So if there was a supply shock, then you would also see the price increase in how much gold you need to give or silver. But
well,
we're
we also we also saw gold itself go up in that same window of time during the COVID-19 stuff when toilet paper and everything else was going up in price. The demand for gold was driving up the price for gold at the time too. So I would say that, yeah, based on that theory of applying X item versus gold price, as price was going up because of demand, so was gold price because it had a demand also. So yeah, I can
Right.
see that. I can see that perspective. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
So, like,
well,
you're going off of Milton Friedman's statement of what inflation is, which I mean, I do agree with. I just think there's also the factor of, like Piper said, demand outpacing supply is also a factor in inflation. Which I mean, in our
right.
current economy, with some of the tariffs we've seen, has also been a driver of inflation. But the biggest one is the fact that since 1971, you've seen an explosion in the supply of money. Which
currency.
Since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created, the dollar's lost 99% of its purchasing power. So
Yeah, more than that. Yeah. Well,
it's not just supply and demand as far as like the economy,
oh
but
yeah,
like the dollars that are issued constantly, just gives you oversaturates the dollar market, and that creates the inflation. Like that's the core reason why we get inflation is because of the artificial increase of the dollar supply. It's not a
right.
fixed amount.
But I wouldn't call a supply deficit inflation. That is, it's what's the saying go? Money goes towards whatever. There's a phrase, I can't remember it. Essentially, like when a hurricane hits and there's no gasoline or no generators
Water. Right.
or water, the price goes up because that's just how the free market works. When there is a
Right.
lack of supply, then hey, I'm a businessman and I can make more currency or make more bang for my buck by increasing. That's not an inflationary thing. That's a
No.
supply deficit. You can't call the fact that there's a supply deficit inflation. Inflation is tied to currency. Full stop. Inflation is tied to mining, gold and silver. That's the inflation rate. The rate at which we get real money out of the earth, refine it through proof of work, and put it into circulation. That's inflation, right? Inflation is not something that you put towards goods or services. That is just the price that you charge. Like if even if I was denominating in a hurricane situation, I didn't want to take dollars. I only took gold and silver. Instead of charging maybe $500 worth of gold, I'll charge half ounce of gold for it because I'm the only game the only game in the only player in the game that has the products, right? So you got to separate inflation, because the idiot Keynesians call it inflation because they don't want us to really know what inflation is. Inflation is them stealing from us and printing currency and stealing our time and our economic energy. Inflation is not supply shortages, and it's not supply shock or supply the supply lack of goods. It's inflation is strictly for currency and money.
Well, I mean, Keynes literally called inflation theft.
Yeah.
Like in his own words, he called inflation theft. Like, it's not like he tried to hide it from us. He literally told us what it was. It was the theft of your purchasing power.
Yeah.
And he was very transparent about it. But the big difference between what we're doing now and what Keynes said was that in booms, you're supposed to pay down your deficit. And you're supposed to actually make things better. And that's why you've, instead of being in true Keynesian economics, we're in version 2 in monetary theory, where they say deficits don't even matter as long as you control your currency supply.
Yeah.
And that's bull. That's straight bull. That's straight nonsense. And we've watched it.
It goes even further, because they even just want to monetize the debt, right? A modern monetary theorist believe that if you can just print the currency and pay off the debt with zero bonds, right? You can print infinitely and buy back the interest-bearing bonds. When a country does that, when they issue zero interest bonds and immediately monetize the debt, that's the end of the system. You can't trust the government. You can't trust the debt instruments. And it's what leads to the collapse of empires. It's all about money. When I say money, I mean gold and silver. When you debase your money and now we don't even have money, it's currency. But back then, when empires would mix gold and silver with copper to the point where, there's a poem in 300 BC, right around the Peloponnesian Wars, when Athens and Sparta were going at war. They were talking about how the copper flex was worth nothing, right? Because they needed to pay the armies. They didn't have the gold because Spartans took their gold and silver mines. So the Athenian Empire just started debasing their currency, doubling their currency by mixing it with base metals. That's what they're doing now. And now there's no limit. There's nothing anchored to it, even a percentage anchored. So I mean, the system. This is what we're seeing now. This crypto, these crypto moves of gold and silver, 2-4%. Go look at the Weimar Republic when they were printing 16 quadrillion Deutschmarks per day, and then look at the price of the Deutschmark versus gold and silver. It's looking like what we have now. And then if you overlay that with the interest, actually, let me just no, I don't have it here. If you overlay that with the interest rate moves, the interest rate moves are insane. It's like up 100%, down -5%. That's what it's starting to look like. It's looking like the death of the dollar. It's looking like the death of fiat, just like the Weimar Republic. So history repeats itself, and we're doomed to repeat our history if we don't know where we've come from. So if we really want to understand monetary history and the impact of what the world has been doing since 1971, go look at what's happened during the World War I, World War II with Germany, and every single hyperinflationary state, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. They're going to reset and create something new.
I mean, that's what we watched happen in Mexico. Their dollar
Mhm.
was massively inflated. And I know OC talks about it on Piper's show all the time, where they had you trade in 20 pesos and you get one of the brand new pesos. But the thing is, it's still worth the same jack crap that it was worth before. You still get the same purchasing power as the 20 pesos was. It's no different. We just gave it a new monetary value.
Right.
How has Japan been operating on a deficit for a couple of decades now? No,
Uh,
like
Well,
So,
yeah. I mean,
Same
they,
way we have.
yeah, and
not deficit, but they're I'm trying to think of the word that they've been inflating their fiat for a couple decades
because
now. Of course,
they export their debt. That's what they
yeah,
do.
because
export
they
their
have
debt.
high interest. So what they do is they have low interest bonds. So what people do is they buy those bonds at 1%, put it or the currency or whatever at 1%.
Yeah,
Then
make arbitrage.
they arbitrage it for U.S. Treasuries and they pocket the difference. But the problem is that you have the forex. So when the yen crashes, that doesn't matter if you're making 3-4 more percent, you're losing your shirt. So it's that's the problem with fiat and arbitraging, interest rates when the values are not pegged. Now, I do that with gold, right? Like I take a 1%, 2% bond, put it in gold, and then lease it because I know that gold's always going to outperform the yen, or in this case, the dollar. I mean, that's different. But if you're doing forex, currency to currency, debt to debt, you're in trouble. There's smart debt, and then there's dumb debt, right? So there's a
Yep.
smart way to invest and a dumb way to invest. So you just got to know, what one, you got to know the difference between money and currency. And if you don't have that down, then just realize money is a store of value. Currency is designed to steal your economic energy and your time and your wealth. Money is designed to preserve your wealth over long periods of time. There's only two forms of money: gold and silver. Nothing else is money. So you use that as your central monetary unit, and you should be fine.
Would you argue that Bitcoin is therefore money?
No, Bitcoin is a derivative of fiat, just like all other cryptocurrencies.
I mean, yes and no. If you value it in fiat dollars, then yes. But I've always said one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin.
Equals one Bitcoin. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but it's correlated to the Nasdaq, and it's 100% dependent upon the injection of fiat currency.
Uh, in our current system, yeah. But if fiat dies, Bitcoin still works, and its purchasing power would work the same as gold has, where its purchasing power would increase because of the limited supply, and you wouldn't need fiat to make it run.
Well,
We just value it in fiat now because of the way of our current system.
Well, if you value it against gold, it's still not stable, and it's basically a derivative because when right now, if you go to North Star Bad Charts, this is a website that it's two technical analysis guys that I follow. They always measure different assets against gold and silver. When you measure Bitcoin, look, if Bitcoin was money and it was supposed to be a safe haven event, then when the Ukraine war happened 4 years ago, Bitcoin should have acted like gold and silver and gone up. No, Bitcoin went down. When the tariff wars started, Bitcoin, if it's truly money and that's a safe asset, Bitcoin should have been where people went to for safety. No, they sold that Bitcoin and it crashed with everything else that was correlated to the Nasdaq. Bitcoin is not money. The only thing that is money is gold and silver. Bitcoin is an investment that you rotate your money out of gold and silver when it crashes, like it's probably going to crash 60-70% here soon. And then you do wealth cycling. You wait till everything crashes during the global monetary collapse that I think is coming. You rotate your gold and silver into Bitcoin, ride that up, and then when Bitcoin gets to that high ratio, like it has over the last 4 years, you sell your Bitcoin, go back into gold and silver. It's the same thing. Wash, rinse, repeat. Whatever it is, repeat. I'm not really good with the sayings today. My mind was on business, and then I got a reminder like, "Hey, you need to come in," and I wasn't mentally prepared for this.
No,
Billy, do you have
totally
any
get you.
thoughts? What are your thoughts? I
Yeah,
haven't
I
heard
have
you talk yet.
I have a ton of thoughts. Number one, I agree with Daniel mostly. I think the reason
Uh-oh.
Oh, it looks like he
We
so
lost
froze.
the reason
You back?
can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir.
hear
You're
you
good
now.
now. You're good now.
Yeah, so gold's been around 5,000 years. Bitcoin's only been around like 16 years. Everything that we do, our default thinking is based in gold.
Mhm.
Like society, years and years, generations based in gold. So here we are with a 16-year-old product. Of course, I don't think we're just now getting to any type of real adoption. So I think it's going to change your argument, Daniel, over the course of the next 100 years. But right now, today, taking a snapshot, I got to say I agree with you on that. I do believe if I was hedging my bet, though, I'm going to hedge towards Bitcoin for the future, just because of it.
Yeah, Bitcoin is the best investment any person could invest in, but you got to time it right, just like any other investment.
Right. And I think that's going to change because support levels are going up, right? So all this traditional money has come in, all the institutions, all the countries. So the support level, I don't think, and this is my worthless opinion, I don't think we're going to see 70, 80% drops anymore in Bitcoin. I think those days are over. I think it will still drop, but I think that was a product of the baked in halving and the baked in Moore's Law and the fact that we did not have all these billions and billions of institutional dollars holding us up to a bottom that we now have. So I think it's going to go down. We'll see. Time will tell. And I love having these arguments like 4 years from now, right? But I don't think we're going to see 70, 80% collapse in Bitcoin like we have. It's probably a worthless opinion, but I got one thing, BC. Today is my 39th year anniversary. And you guys aren't going to believe this. This is just, I didn't know this was going to happen. My wife got me this. This is my card. This is a card, and it says, this is what was happening back in 1986. And you asked me about the show. Minimum wage was $3.35. A new house was $89,430. A gallon of gasoline was 89 cents. A loaf of bread was $1.02. A postage stamp was 22 cents. A dozen eggs was 87 cents. And a movie ticket was $3.71. The average income per year was $24,900. Wow. That's robbery.
Crazy.
That's just robbery, like you were saying, Daniel. Just highway robbery.
When it's only 15 years after we got off the Bretton Woods system, so we were still, the prices were still somewhat stable. I mean, we had 15 years of inflation, but we did not have quantitative easing. We did have the Cold War. We did go through the Vietnam after, so we did have a lot of deficit spending, but we really went into like destroying and stealing our wealth after the 2008 collapse, and really, I would even argue after the dot-com bubble, when Greenspan opened up the faucet to bail out Wall Street, and then Wall Street realized there's no consequences for bad investments, malinvestments. So they just kept doing malinvestments, and the Fed basically promised to bail them out. And that's exactly what they did in 2008 when the whole world was crashing. If the Fed didn't do quantitative easing and just print currency into existence to buy the bad debt and to bail out the banks and basically the owners of the Fed. If the Federal Reserve didn't bail out their owners, we would have had an entire market collapse like the Great Depression. But the banks own the Fed, not the government, the banks. So they're going to look out for their own interests, and they're going to steal our wealth to make sure they don't go broke. There's a reason why I'm so passionate, because it's blind robbery, and they're screwing 79% of the people because they're living paycheck to paycheck. So. Sorry, I just got really heated there thinking about everything.
See, but that's the proper response that someone should have.
Yeah.
When they look at this system and they understand that how the entire thing was designed is to steal from us. It's an accepted, the 2% target, that's an arbitrary target. It's an arbitrary target of how much can we steal from you a year without you overthrowing us.
Do you know why it's
And not
2%?
compound.
Yeah, it's compounded. But do you know why it's 2%? Do you know what Volkner said and Greenspan? Because that's the average inflation rate of mining gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's 2% their goal. And then to keep it at 2%, you know what they did in 1981? They started changing CPI numbers because they couldn't meet the goal. So ever since 1981, they've changed CPI metrics at least 15 times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use the 1980 metrics, real inflation isn't 2.75 or whatever the heck they're putting out there. It's over 11%.
Yep.
Compounded year over year.
Amen.
If you look at the inflation numbers by just going off of like the gold from 1971 to now, we're at like over 1,000% inflation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like
it's ridiculous.
that's why it hurts so much.
Yeah.
Hey, I need you guys to quit looking at the price of oranges. Bananas are fruit too, and bananas are cheap. So the price of fruit is all cheap because the banana's cheap. Okay, that's how they changed it. The basket case, right? But hey, fruit's expensive. Yeah, but bananas didn't go up, so we'll just base it off of bananas. That's the trick. The smoke and mirrors game.
Well, I mean, that's why they got rid of coffee, because coffee was like kind of
They didn't get rid of all coffee. They got rid of certain sizes of coffee.
Yeah.
I argued that with people all the time. They general blanket. They got rid of coffee up. No, they got rid of the most commonly purchased sizes of coffee, but they didn't get rid of all coffee. So
you know what they got rid of?
What's the difference at that point, though? If we get rid of the most purchased version of this asset, then it doesn't matter. We're just lying to you.
You know what they took out in 1999, and then what their excuse was? They took out the New York Strip, and you know what they replaced the New York Strip with? A chicken breast. And you know what their rationale was? They're like, oh, well, we noticed that the people were buying more chicken, so we were just to keep up with market trends and consumer products. We just took the New York Strip.
People bought more chicken because it was a quarter of the price.
That was going to be my next line. Well, my question is, why did they take the New York Strip out? No, it wasn't because they were buying. Why are people buying more chicken? Because it was too expensive in inflation. I mean, they think we're they think we're stupid. They think that the masses are stupid. And most people are so busy with their lives, they don't look at what's going on. They don't.
Yeah, it's not that they're stupid; they're ignorant. Just ignorant is not knowing, right?
I was going to say they may not be stupid, but they're definitely ignorant.
Yeah, they're definitely ignorant.
Yeah,
but the mentality of these people. Look, I'm a lobbyist. I deal with these people in power all the time. They think they walk on water like Jesus Christ. You know, the hubris of some of these people in leadership. They look, when you're around people with high power and that make a lot of money because of they have insider information. Yeah, they think they're stupid. I'm telling you, man.
I agree with you. I think they think that, but I'm saying I don't think they are. I think
no.
Ignorant.
People are busy surviving because 79% of them live in pay to the paycheck trying to figure out how they're going to eat.
Exactly.
So they're not going to worry about how people are screwing them over because they just are looking straight ahead right in front of them. They have $10 in their bank account. They have $500 in bills before their next paycheck. They're trying to figure out how to survive. They're not seeing what people are doing to screw them over in the halls of power.
So since we all kind of agree that the system was designed to screw us all over, at a level that, you know, we just don't get angry enough about and we just let it keep going. Well, some of us, you know, I'm saying your average American, whereas like the whole reason I did the show was I was like researching and I texted LBC and I'm like, bro, I'm so mad right now. Like, I'm so pissed off. This is outrageous. Yeah. And like more people should be mad. But like the question after that then is, what do? How do you actually come in here and change things from the Federal Reserve regulates our inflation and you have the government just printing unlimited checks? Well, yeah, Medicare technically won't run out of money by 2034, they're just going to print new dollars. But at the same time, yeah, you paid the paycheck, but like you just made the problem worse. So how do we get from that to the other side of it where we all transact with each other in legitimate means where we can actually trust each other?
Well,
Or
Mike, yeah.
or do we have to adopt a new system?
My question for all of y'all is, how many of you have been impacted with the government being shut down?
Zero.
Zero. So my immediate answer is shut down the government.
They're still taking my taxes.
Last night, this is funny. Last night, I'm sitting there with my family, and we're watching TV, and I was just, looking at my phone and stuff, and I saw a pop-up, and it said, still no move on the government reopening. There's like a headline on a news article, right? And I just sat there and I paused the television, and I turned around. I got a spinning chair in my living room. I turned around, looked at my wife and son, and I went, "Hey, I got a question for you. Should we be concerned that no one cares that the government's still closed?" Like, I just saw the first headline on this at all in like a week. Like, there's not, like, this should be all over the news. If another country's government shut down for a week, it would be like riots in the streets. There'd be people out. Like, we've had nothing. And what's really changed? Zero. Like, for the people that are impacted by it, sure, I'm sure that, they're wondering about their checks, right? But at the end of the day, most people just went on with their daily life. We've had no headlines. We've had no breaking news. Like, I expect every day, like watching CNBC, that I'm going to see a pop-up breaking news. This move was made on the government open, or this has been caused by the government still being shut down. And we've had nada. Like,
No, the
everyone's
worst-
just like, whatever.
Well,
The worst news I've seen is TSA. No,
Yeah.
taking longer to wait in line.
TSA, and then flights being canceled because the what are those
Air
power
traffic
operated-
controllers.
air traffic controllers are refusing to come into work. So yeah, if you travel, I mean, I travel. I'm probably going to get impacted next week when I travel, but I'm okay with it as long as the government shut down. No government employees and bureaucrats are getting paid. That makes me happy at night, and gives me great joy. Like if Jesus Christ was coming back.
Well, like, honestly, if that's not the biggest argument that libertarian small government would work, I don't know what is. Like, this is the point where
everybody keeps talking about property rights, but I've got that solved. So
like, and it's like,
you and me both, brother.
we should be handling our own safety, and
Yeah.
like the government has literally been screwing us on
property. We're not on YouTube. We're on X right now.
I love it.
Property rights are not a problem on X.
That was
And I mean, it does show you that we can still operate without,
I'm not close enough.
without a federal government overreach like that.
Yeah.
And if we can do it there, why can't we do it with the dollar?
Look, the only responsibilities of government from a libertarian and historical perspective was to defend us from invading forces, the national military, national army, right? To ensure interstate commerce between the states. I'm pretty sure that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, controlling commerce from outside, domestic commerce. That's it. These social programs, everything else that we're doing, it's not the responsibility of the federal government. That's the responsibility of the states. Mm-hmm. The federal government has taken too much power and control from the states that created it. The states created the federal government, right? So it's time that we just shut that thing down, just pay for the military, pay for interstate commerce and whatever divisions or departments we need to make sure states don't screw each other over in trade. And then the Border Patrol, for bringing in goods and services. That's really all we need. Protect our borders. That's it. There's no other reason to have
Let me ask you a question, Daniel, if you don't mind, BC.
Go ahead.
So Trump had just asked his people in the government to figure out how much Bitcoin we have, the government owns. He also just said, "Hey, where's all of our gold? How much gold do we have?" Right? So an accounting of gold. You're plugged into the gold market. What is your take on how much gold has it truly been announced with a number that is verifiable? How much gold the United States owns?
I was promised to secrecy not to talk about it, but it's not what we were told.
Well,
Okay.
We could have guessed that when they refused to show us the gold live.
Well, what do you think happened when Elon went to Fort Knox? Nothing. There's a mechanism in the White House for national security purposes that they send a memo to all the news networks that you cannot report this. Otherwise, the federal government will shut down the news for national security. And then the minute that went out, nothing.
Okay, so is it true or not? You're plugged into this, so you know. Is it true or not that, as far as on our government books, that gold as our asset on our balance sheet is still valued at like $42 an ounce, or really low? Is that, have you
42.22? Is there
any truth to that is like verifiable, that isn't just like social media news?
That's still, if you look, it's all public. You can look. That's what they value all the gold at
okay.
$42.22.
Okay, so walk with me here. I'm taking this down a hole. So if gold is truly at $42 an ounce, basically on our balance sheet, and Trump now knows exactly how much gold we have. We don't know yet as citizens, but it sounds like there is an accounting, there is an audit. It sounds like it's not what we thought, but I guarantee you it's probably still a hell of a lot of gold, right? So is there, with the Stablecoin Act, the Clarity Act, because the specific legislation says that it's got to be budget neutral. So if you have one asset, you can swap it for another asset. That's budget neutral. Is there any thoughts in your mind, and Trump owning world liberty, and being very much involved in crypto and Bitcoin, created the Bitcoin reserve, right? And so is there any thoughts in your mind that he will take some of that gold and put it into what will be the new, will be either Bitcoin, put it in a Bitcoin, or as a part of the treasury, or put it into the new, whatever's chosen as the US dollar stable coin? Do you think that's going to happen at all in your mind?
I think first he's going to increase the price of the gold, issue new gold bonds at 100 years. And then I think he's going to follow through with this campaign promise of putting in the Bitcoin, then using that Bitcoin to buy back the debt. But essentially, by reevaluating gold to whatever the heck the price is, they can even reevaluate it at $30,000 if they wanted to. Whatever, they can do whatever they want. But let's say they reevaluate it at the current price. That's just new inflation. Don't get confused. Oh, it's just an accounting trick.
Agreed.
It's just an accounting trick. So they create these gold bonds and make it sound like it's backed by something. No, it's just they're creating more debt, adding more assets to the balance sheet to decrease the debt to GDP ratio below 120%. They'll probably bring it down to the 90s, where you can print new currency and you get more production from the debt. But it's inflation. And then they're going to put into Bitcoin, inflate Bitcoin, and then they'll probably use that Bitcoin to buy off debt through this new Genius Act. They'll figure something out. But look, the fiat's dead. I think we're seeing the death, the last breath of the fiat system. So the next system is digital. The next system, you just got to zoom out, look at macroeconomics, and see what all the institutions and central banks are saying and doing. They're tokenizing real-world assets outside of the ground and underneath the ground, which, if you're tokenizing real assets in the ground, that's just inflation. There's no economic energy. You're just basically creating new currency, saying it's backed by an asset in the earth, but no economic energy was put into that asset and pulled out of the ground. Like, it's just the same thing Trump's doing. We're tokenizing assets in the ground. The same thing as reevaluating the gold in Fort Knox at X amount to create new currency. It's just inflation, quote unquote, backed. Real backed currency would be you tokenizing it 1-to-1, whether it's 100% or my my thing is I don't want to go back to a gold standard. But if we do go, I want to just make gold and silver money. But if we do go back to a gold standard, the only way I really see like the Keynesians and the gold people getting along is they back the currency by 40% gold, because theoretically that will stabilize any currency at 40% threshold historically, and then let it free float. Because if the government decides to print 100 trillion new dollars, then gold does an accounting. It's going to stay at that 40%. It might take some time, but let the gold free float and let that back the currency. That's the only way. If you peg gold at a certain price, that's when you get screwed over. But if you peg the currency and let it free float with gold and silver, and you can put any other assets you want in there, that's the only way I see a quasi gold standard where gold itself isn't monetized like I want it to be.
See, I think that we're in the middle of a big game play right here, and I think gold is going up because he needs it to go. It has to go up. It has to
so
go
they can
up.
revalue it at the Federal Reserve.
That's right. And I think this all the pressure's happening. I think it's just part of what he's got. I mean, you come in and to have an agenda, said early on, we're gonna figure out how much Bitcoin we own. We're gonna figure out how much gold we own. We're gonna set up a Bitcoin treasury. We're not gonna create a CBDC, but we are gonna create a stable coin. And we have all this debt, and we're going to figure out what gold is. And to your point, Daniel, it's just numbers, but he knows the game, right? I mean, he knows the game, balance sheet numbers. Hey, if we can get that up to $10,000 an ounce.
Yeah, I think so.
And so here we go. And I think we're just part of it right now.
If you would have told me that we'd be at almost $4,300 at this point in the year, I would have said, that would be tough. Dude, we almost hit 4,500. If we just had a $100 and something pullback yesterday, dude, we're gonna hit 5,000 probably within. Look, we're only $700 away from the 5,000 mark. Gold has been moving on average around $38 to $50 a day. Do the math. There ain't that many days to get to 5,000. I would not be surprised that by the end of next year we're close to 10,000, and I'm now seeing just gold and silver bull markets usually last around 10 years. We're about a year, maybe 2 years into the bull market. That means we have 9 to 8 years of a precious metals bull market. Well, that's a lot of time and a lot of currency, and we're not talking about we're looking at war. There's a reason why gold and silver is running out. There is not a single government mint on the planet that has silver. The U.S. Mint is out of gold, the Silver Eagles. The Royal Canadian Mint is out of silver. The London and COMEX depositories are out of silver. The British, the Royal British Mint is out of silver. The Perth Mint is out of silver.
You saw what India did, didn't you?
They paused all new investments into silver ETFs and mutual funds, and they stopped.
What do you think that is?
What do you think? Planes too. Did you see the planes?
No, I didn't see the planes. What did they do with the planes?
Yeah, they jumped on cargo planes to rush to get to one of the distributors of silver. I can pull up the details if you need the exact ones, but summarized, they booked cargo planes and sent out an emergency team. You're on a plane in an hour, go, so they could pick up the silver before the other countries got there, because one of the places said that they had silver. And so they said, we need to get the silver now. So they sent cargo planes to pick it up with an hour notice to their people.
Dude, there's no silver. Listen, and the silver squeeze in 2020, that was a retail silver squeeze. There was plenty of silver in all the mints. That's a different situation. Every single time we had a silver squeeze in the 70s, we always had silver in the depositories. That was a retail. We are in a retail, and for the first time ever in our current economy, a silver squeeze in all the depositories around the world. That's never happened. And we're about to go to war. The U.S. military just quadrupled their order from Raytheon and Lockheed Martin of warheads, Tomahawk missiles. The Tomahawk missile holds 500 ounces of silver in each warhead. And the biggest refineries in America are refusing to take silver because you know why? Not because they're flooded and they don't have liquidity. It's because they can't get the acid to break down sterling and to break down the bars to make smaller denominations. And why can't they get acid? Because the U.S. military bought it all so that they can put the silver in their warheads. There's rumors of wars. There's wars going on. It's crazy times that we live in.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I get worried because with everything you've been seeing and the dollar losing value, and a bunch of my friends are not in the same positions as I am where they've invested in anything and they don't have gold and they don't have silver, and they're like, oh, well, I'm worried about buying a house. And I'm like, well, how are you going to get there, bud?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? It's like if the federal government's not open, like you don't get your like first time home buyer's advantage. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's no way from here to there without a transition of our current system to something that works differently.
Yeah. No, 100%. And look, I think, were you guys on you? Were you guys on the call with me? One of you guys were on the call with me when I told you I was selling all my Bitcoin in August of last year. I got out.
I was.
You were. Dude, best decision ever. I'm outperforming Bitcoin. I'm outperforming crypto. I'm over 100% since August of last year. Smartest thing. I called it. I said, when we cut interest rates, we're in trouble. And I told you that. I said, and you were skeptical, and everybody that was in the call were skeptical. And I'm like, okay, all right. You know, when Trump got elected, you guys were like all vindicated. Yeah, Trump got elected. Everything's going up. I took that right up. Sold my gold and silver, put it back in gold and silver after December. Dude, it's happening. What I've only been in gold and silver for 2 years, so I only had 2 years of vindication. Dude, David Morgan's been in it since his teens and didn't really get into the industry since 1997. Mike Maloney got in 2003. Like Peter Schiff, yeah, same in the early 2000s, maybe the 90s. All these guys that have been yelling from the rooftops.
I'm happy for them. I'm happy
People
for
thought
them.
they were crazy with the tinfoil hats are finally vindicated. It took forever because they had no idea the Federal Reserve was just going to print currency and bail out the banks and just give money to the people or currency to the people. And it's finally here, man. And, you know, like, sell your crypto and put it in digital gold and silver. You might be doing better because we're now going to be in a bear market for crypto and everything's going to crash. We are in the first time in an everything bubble. In 1929, that was a stock market bubble. And then in 1971, that was just a monetary shock and just a deficit bubble. That was a stock market collapse. The 60s kind of stayed flat for a while. That was just us getting off the gold standard and everything. Then in 2000, that was another stock market bubble because of whatchamacallit.
.com, internet.
The .com. And then 2008 was a real estate bubble. And we weren't in a stock market bubble. It was a real estate bubble, and the real estate bubble drugged down the stock market. And now we are in a real estate bubble. We are in a stock market bubble. And the first time in 40 years, it started about a year ago, we are in a debt bubble, and that debt bubble is bursting. You can tell by the 10-year and the 30-year treasuries skyrocketing in price because nobody wants to buy them. We are in trouble. We're in a trifecta. The three pillars of our economy, real estate, stock market, and debt, are on bubbles. Those are all going to burst. And now we can add a fourth one because of the Genius Act. We're in a crypto bubble. All cryptocurrency is another avenue for the Federal Reserve to pump inflation because all cryptocurrency is a derivative of inflation. All of it. There is no argument against it. Just like the stock market in 1913, the opponents of the Federal Reserve Act put an octopus on the newspaper with signifying the Federal Reserve with the stock market right in front of it, all the branches of government with its tentacles around it, vomiting currency into the stock market, signifying that's where inflation is going. That's what cryptocurrency is. It's just a place for all the central banks to put inflation. And we're in an everything bubble, and everything's going to burst. And the only safe haven, the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind is going to happen in the next couple of years, in the next 4 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I would argue you have to be in Bitcoin and gold. That's what I'd argue. But other people would say just gold, and other people would say silver, and other people would say just Bitcoin only, right? But for your audience, these are the two books that you have to read. So the Bitcoin Standard and the Fiat Standard. These are the two books. If you haven't read books on money supply and money and the Fed and just the beginning of money, actually, the definition, the beginning of money, these are the two books that I highly recommend you read to give you a good foundation, good base principles to learn about everything we've been talking about today, because you have to have a framework. There has to be a foundation in which you begin to build your own thesis on for your own investment and your own safety. I'm not big into worrying about wars, worrying about anything really, because I already know how everything's going to end. And I say that with faith. Like for my own salvation, I say that with faith. For my own financial health, I have Bitcoin. I've always had gold. I don't have probably as much as you, Daniel, but I always had gold and silver. It's in my safe. I keep it and it's real. I've always believed in it. So when you know you have Bitcoin, you know you have gold, you know you have silver, you're good financially. Wait till you see the projection of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. Just 10 years based on 21 million scarce supply. Wait till you see what that's going to do. And then the gold piece is beautiful too, because it is getting traction. It's moving and it's stable. So I'm a believer in it all. But the wars and all that stuff, brother, it's like, man, when you have a plan and when you're secure in that faith and you've already taken the right steps, there's nothing to worry about. Everybody stay calm, keep buying gold, keep buying silver, keep buying Bitcoin, and let's make memories together. Let's have fun together. Let's find your people, do the right thing, hang out with people like all of you guys, and let's have fun. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about me or probably all of you guys. I'm more worried about the 78% of people who aren't prepared and who are going to suffer, and that it's going to cause hunger and riots and who else knows what. Because when the cost of food hits 40% of the monthly income, is when we trigger revolution. It's what caused the French Revolution. It's what caused the Arab Spring. It's what caused the revolution in Russia to overthrow the czars. But it's typically food related. And when the people can't eat, I'm not worried about us. I got my ammo. I got my guns. I got my gas waller, solar panels, generators, food stores. I got it all. I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse if it needs it. But I'm more worried about everybody else.
But you're doing it. You're like all of us on stage here. We are evangelists for it, right? So we're doing it, man.
Love it.
That's
all I need to hoard. That's all I need to hoard. Everybody else will have everything I need. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question. So how would we use gold as money? Like, would we do like like the paperbacks like we used to do, like back when we were on a gold standard, or how would we use it as a medium of exchange?
Well, nowadays you would just digitize it and spend it with a debit card, or you would use gold backs, or you'd use something like this. I'll pull it out. Sorry, I was just playing with some silver bits. These are 1/10 ounce silver rounds. You use that to barter. I mean, it's like a dime. So it's like what we've been doing for thousands of years, right? Or in this country, these are Morgan dollars. These Morgan dollars were used 150 plus years ago. Like, you just spend it like everything else. Like before we had credit cards, you just had cash and you had coins. And
I finally know what a dime bag is. You just showed me. After all these years, I never knew.
This is a dime bag, sure.
Oh, Joey, I love you, bro.
You spend your what you call it, gold cash, your silver cash. This is what you spend. You need transactional silver and gold, which is what fractional is. So you fractionalize money or you digitize money, but that's it's there's no difference. And then what you do? Sorry, there's in Colombia, or is it Venezuela? It's either in Venezuela or Colombia. There is a grocery store that only takes gold, and they sell all the produce and all the goods in the weight of gold. That's it. And they just have scales. And when you check out, they have a scale. You put your gold on the scale, and they tally up how much weight and produce you've gotten, and you're just paying gold. We've been doing it. It's not rocket science. We've been doing it for thousands of years before we even had electricity. Like it's just we got to go back to our roots because we got to go back to money.
See, and it's
I
that
I
it's that
understand that
Austrian
working.
theory that we were talking about yesterday, whereas it doesn't matter how much there is because it's infinitely divisible. And the
Mm-hmm.
purchasing power doesn't, your purchasing power will just be increasing. So you'll need infinitely smaller amounts of the asset to buy the everyday goods that you want. It's the complete opposite of the way that we use our fiat dollar. Whereas then I go to the grocery store next year, instead of milk being $3.50, it's $4.50. So I need more
Well,
dollars. Whereas then I'd need less over time of gold to buy the same amount.
yeah, and I would caveat that because if you denominate if you go to a grocery store and you have two prices, the gold price and the silver price, the dollar price, the gold and silver price never needs to move. It just stays the same, right? I mean, it might fluctuate because we're on a fiat standard prior. It never fluctuated. The price of gold, unless there was a supply shock. The only time they would change the price in gold and silver was when there wasn't enough supply. And then we go to the free market, supply and demand, and find the X, right? The happy equilibrium of prices with supply and demand. And there's competitive markets and so forth. That's the only reason gold and silver fluctuate. But if we're denominating it in gold and silver in the fiat economy, you never have to raise the price of that good or service because gold and silver does an accounting of the amount of currency there is in fluctuation. So, like, I'm still paying the same gold back for my coffee. I might have to pay slightly less because we're in a fiat economy, but it's still one gold back, right? It's gone up a couple bucks. My kava has gone up. It went from like $10 to $12, $13, and so forth. So you don't have to really worry about fractionalizing gold and silver so much because it pretty much is the same value. You can buy the same house from 1978 with what was it, 24 ounces, 226 ounces of gold. Today it's a little less. It's like 196. Yeah, it's less because how inflated the dollar is getting. We're denominating houses in dollars, but it's pretty much the same amount of gold, minus 10, 20 ounces.
Meaning that gold is fiat based on its valuation. Everything is.
Well, for right now, and the only reason it's less is because of this huge swing up in property in the bubbles. So all the bubbles are denominated in fiat, and that's when when the Federal Reserve was created. That is when bubbles started because you had the Federal Reserve printing currency and controlling interest rates. That's the only reason bubbles exist. Prior to that, you could, as a business owner, prior to Bretton Woods and prior to getting off of 1971, you knew exactly how much currency or how much gold and silver coin you needed on every continent to sell your goods and services for a profit, because gold and silver is fungible, like Bitcoin is fungible. You knew you could go, all right, I'm going to do a tour around the world and sell our services in China and Japan and the UK, and you just needed to get that exact same amount of gold and silver. When we got off a gold and silver standard, where everything was pretty much the same around the planet for goods and services, that's when things started fluctuating. So we get rid of the dollar, we can go back to a stable economy. Look, sound markets require sound money. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Most definitely. Yep. And I hope that we can get to a trend like that, but like unless we have your everyday American actually pushing for something like that, and not just like pushing for it and we talk about it, but like doing things like you do, where it's like, I'm going to lobby for this. I'm going to talk to my local politicians and be like, look, gold needs to be money in our state. We need to cool, we can use the US dollar if we want to like transact with other states that don't have it, but like you can just use gold. It works. It's always worked.
Yep. 100%. I agree with that. So not only do we lobby for gold and silver, we now have sound money seminars, and we are hosting sound money merchant seminars in Missouri. We had our first two about 2-3 weeks ago, training business owners on how to accept gold and silver for their businesses. We now have two more this coming week on Saturday and Sunday in Missouri, in Salem, Missouri, and Roby, Missouri, where we're going to have hundreds of people show up, business owners and individuals, learning how to use gold and silver in a gold and silver economy. It's about education. We, Citizens for Sound Money, got the laws passed, and now we're going into the states that passed those laws and teaching the public on how to accept gold and silver. The government's not going to do that. Nobody else is going to do that. No other entity or business will do that. We, Citizens for Sound Money, who is a nonprofit organization, the only nonprofit in the sound money movement, lobbying and pushing and passing laws, are doing what we preach. We have now protected people's rights to use sound money in the states that we worked in. And now we're educating every generation on the necessity of sound money for a free society and a free economy to exist. We are doing our mission. So if your audience is listening and they want to support the sound money movement, we're not enemies of Bitcoin. We just think Bitcoin's a great investment to make you wealthier when the market's correct. And gold and Bitcoin are best friends, because when Bitcoin collapses, everybody just goes to gold. And when gold, well, not even gold, but when Bitcoin is about to skyrocket, hey, gold, come back over here, boom, and then get richer. That's the relation.
Well, if you look at it from the CAGR, though, you look at it just from the CAGR state, Bitcoin's outperformed gold at every turn when you annualize it out. Does Bitcoin drop 70% every 4 years? Sure. But I mean, 1974 to 1976, you had a almost 50% drop in gold. So gold has its moments too. I like gold, but I love Bitcoin, and it's simply because it's really easy for me to spend Bitcoin if I wanted to. I never would. Why would I spend Bitcoin? I don't need a taxable event just to buy a burger, right? But at the end of the day, I think that gold has its place and has for centuries. I do think that undermining the performance levels that Bitcoin does, until Bitcoin's CAGR equals gold's, then I'll start to shift. But right now, Bitcoin is double the annualized return of what we've seen on gold.
Sure, so, but it's like, when you're comparing Bitcoin to gold, it's like comparing a brand new shit coin to Bitcoin, because we have $40 trillion market cap. Bitcoin has what, $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion, right? Okay. When Bitcoin does this move against gold that has $40 trillion market cap, it's not the same. You're comparing apples to a tin can. I mean, gold is money. Gold is the most liquid asset on the planet. Every empire and every single country has gold on their balance sheets. And because it's what we've used, it's what God put on this earth, and it's what he's described as money. It's what he's described silver. Gold and silver, if you're looking at a theological perspective, are what God put on this planet to use as money. Not a man-made contraction with a limited supply that is completely derived on the evilness of fiat. There is no Bitcoin without fiat.
Bitcoin works without fiat.
My biggest reason that I like Bitcoin more than gold right now, besides the returns, is that if I gave you $1,000 and said, I want to buy $1,000 in gold, and I gave $1,000 to Billy and said, I want $1,000 in Bitcoin, I have to do a lot of work to verify that what you just gave me is gold. Bitcoin is trustless.
No, because I can send you $1,000 in digital gold. It's back audited 1-to-1 by the old, with the company I use, the oldest auditing firm in Europe, Bureau Veritas. They have over $500 million of gold and silver in the vaults.
But I have something, but I don't actually have gold. Somebody else does. I still have to trust that they have it. I do. If he gives me $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and I put it in my cold storage wallet, that's mine. I own it.
How is that different from me giving you digital gold?
Because the only person that I need to trust that my Bitcoin is there is me and my keys.
Mm-hmm. Right. And same thing with digital gold and silver. And the underlying asset, but you're also comparing apples and oranges. You're comparing something that was invented out of the electronic sphere, and you're hoping that if there is no EMP pulse or a natural disaster where you don't have to get to your Bitcoin, because ask the people in Asheville if they were able to get to their Bitcoin. No, they use cash, gold, and silver, and ammo to transact.
Well, if you got to talk doomsday stuff, the only two
No, we're
things
not
on this
talking
planet that
doomsday.
matter
I'm
is
talking about
seeds
natural
and
disaster.
bullets. That's it.
Right.
I can grow
DVD.
food and protect it.
Right. But if it's not even a natural disaster, we're talking about man-made disasters too, because of Portugal. The entire Portugal and Spain went in a blackout. You couldn't use anything electronic. You couldn't even use a cell phone in a lot of parts in the peninsula, Arabian Peninsula. It's not safe money. It's not even money. It's just an investment. You can't compare an investment like Bitcoin to what money is. And we have brought money for 5,000-year-old money that God put on this earth and brought it to the 21st century and put it on the blockchain. And a company has an incentive not to screw over it and steal the wealth because they don't want to go to prison for the rest of their lives. Now,
Well-
if they have something wrong in their head and they want to go to prison, that's different. But there's incentives for private entities not to screw over their customers because they're going to go to jail for a long time.
Well, I like your statement. They exist together and they're not enemies, and that's the way I look at it. To
Exactly.
me,
I don't think that one's better than the other. Though.
Yeah, I
They're two
just.
different classes.
But here's the thing: I do believe, because of the fiat system and everything that we all know here on this panel, that gold is not going to make my grandkids generationally wealthy.
No.
But I do believe Bitcoin will.
Yes.
So like when you are trying to figure out where, as young people, right? As young people, like in your 20s and your 30s, where do I invest to build wealth? Because, most people got this backwards. When you're wealthy, you need diversification. But when you're building wealth, you don't need diversification. When you're trying to build wealth, think of any business owner that Sam Walton, any business owner that made it big, all their resources, their time, their energy, their money, everything. Warren Buffett, what did he do? He put everything into Coca-Cola, undervalued stock that he analyzed carefully. And from that, he made more and more and more, doing the exact same thing, like the hedgehog theory, good to great. Just get up every day, do the same thing. You don't need to get into 15 different things. And people have that backwards. Young people, if you're broke, if you're trying to be the first in your family to make $1 million or become financially free, to me, my worthless opinion here, living 60 years, here's my worthless opinion. You need to focus on one thing and do it well. And if that one thing is investing in Bitcoin, then that's what you do. But to your point, Daniel, like we all know the cycle. So yeah, like Piper and I have even talked on shows before. What do we like a topic of a show? What are you going to do with Bitcoin when it goes into the bear market? Like that's a strategy, right? Do you put it in property? Do you put it in gold? Right, exactly. And so I think these two things are very valuable. I think they should be part of your portfolio, and they're not enemies. That's the way I see it.
And here's the beautiful thing about tokenizing and bringing gold to the 21st century. Gold now earns a yield. That was Warren Buffett's biggest thing. Hell, Warren Buffett bought $130 million of silver, and he's planning on buying $100 billion worth of gold if he hasn't done it already. And he hated gold and silver.
He hated Bitcoin too. And
yeah.
And we know he owns a ton of it now.
Right. So look, like, just if you know the cycles, you know what to do. But if you don't know the cycles, dollar cost average is one of the most powerful investment methods, and dollar cost average into Bitcoin and gold, but not during the. I mean, I guess you could during the bear market, but you're better off just put it in gold, wait for the near the bottom, and then just take the gold out and put it in Bitcoin. You could dollar cost average down. I mean, that's powerful. Yeah. But if
dynamic DCA, the Piper plan, it works.
There you go.
It does. But if you're a little more sophisticated and you're listening to me, like everything, we're in an everything bubble. It's the safe havens, gold and silver. Put it in there for now because the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind is about to happen in the next, in my opinion, 3 to 5 to 8, 10 years. And wait for the price of houses. Like, dude, here, where's that chart? Can I share a screen to show you the housing bubble that we're in?
While you pull that up,
I don't have a screen share one, but I can make it.
Well, there's an icon that says screen share.
Yeah,
All right,
I
let
just
me
don't have
find it.
a little segment on it, so I'd have to like
The
move
scene.
you real quick.
Yeah,
While you pull that up, I will say, Daniel, I am currently 3x long on gold right now and 10x short on Bitcoin from $126,000. So,
yep, yep. That's a smart play.
Pax Gold, Piper.
what's that?
You trading Pax Gold?
UAX USDT.
Okay.
All right, cheers.
But yeah, I'm 3x long on gold, and I've been short on Bitcoin since beginning of October. So,
All right. So, how much money Americans need to afford a home? Going back to 1984. This is the median income, this white line, right? So you see the bubbles, the housing bubble crash, This is the 2008 one, right? Look at the amount of income. The $46,000 income versus a house you're needing an additional 63,000 to make up for it. We're right now today you need to raise the household, raise the income of all Americans by $28,000 a year just to afford a house. Look at these bubbles. This is the biggest bubble in the history of our country. We're in a everything bubble. We're in a debt bubble. We're in a stock market bubble. Everything is about to crash. So, my advice: put your income into gold. Wait for everything to crash. Rents, housing, the houses, everything is foreclosed. Dude, loans are being defaulted. Credit cards, auto loans, foreclosures, commercial loans. Everything is busting. Everything is popping. Credit cards. People, I was just talking to my kava shop last night, and he's like, yeah, I noticed things are getting bad economically. What do you mean? He's like, when things were good, people were paying with their debit cards. Then those same people that ran out of money in their debit cards started using their credit cards. Those people aren't coming to my shop anymore. They look like they're about to close because people have maxed out their credit cards. When you don't have money, you use credit, and when you run out of your credit, you don't spend. The economy is about to implode. We're in horrible conditions. And
that's the world.
Huh?
That's the whole world right now.
Yeah, the whole world.
The whole world is sinking economically. We're just we're the tallest ship on this sinking tide. So, as I keep telling people that the dollar's going to go to nothing and we're done. Monetary policy can last a whole lot longer than monetary strength. And so, right now, as the world turns, everyone still looks at the U.S. for its higher ship as a safety haven. So, but yeah, very quickly, gold is shifting that power flex. So,
yeah. It's the thing down here in Florida is typically, I mean, we're about to get into the snowbird season. Typically, we already have snowbirds coming, but either they don't have the money or they don't like America anymore because of what Trump is doing with their tariffs and everything, and they're just not showing up. So the economic boost that the local businesses,
I mean, they love us. Everybody loves us. Okay, they love us. The world
22 years, 22 years in the Army. I will tell you, I've been all over the world. Everywhere that I've been, I've had nothing but "We love America" the whole time. That's a huge lie.
I'm about to say. And whatever reasons Canadians aren't coming down, maybe they'll come down later, but their economy is horrible. Their inflation is worse than ours.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Their debt to GDP is just as atrocious as ours is, and they have a smaller economy.
Worse than ours.
Well, yeah,
most of the world is doing worse. You think we're bad right now, but most countries out there are in a worse shape than us right now.
Especially Europe.
That is bad.
They're
Yeah,
at like
especially
100. I think they're at like 110% debt to GDP. We're sitting at 120, but like their economy is smaller, so that's why it's worse.
Yeah.
Did you see this? Did you see this on Friday? I talked about this on my show. I just shared the screen if you want to pull it up. But U.S. budget deficit edged lower in 2025. This is from CNBC. Debt payments saw new records. So we've actually seen some positive effect come off of tariffs so far that no one thought was going to happen. And we actually paid some debt payments down at a record level off of tariff money. So we are seeing some effect come off of this. But I don't think that it's as much as what we were promised it was going to be. So I just wanted to pull that up and show it. This was a pretty interesting article.
It's not enough that they can also print a whole bunch more dollars and then
Right.
give us
No, not at all. But they'll use it as that reason.
Oh yeah, of course.
Trump sold a bill of goods that got all the libertarians excited. Elon Musk came in with Doge. Trump was talking about cutting the deficit, cutting the budget, cutting, decreasing inflation. He has lied. He has gone back on what he said. He is a Keynesian, and he doesn't understand economics because the way he became a billionaire was using debt. And for him, having low interest rates means more money, cheap money to borrow, which macroeconomically means more inflation and hurting the people. Trump is what I call a cantillionaire. He takes advantage of the Cantillon effect. He gets new currency through loans. That new currency, he gets the full purchasing power. When he spends that currency through his debt, goes into the economy, and it causes inflation. It's. I love Trump as a politician. I hate him as an economist. He's a
horrible economist. Most of our economists are horrible economists.
He doesn't know what he's doing, and he loves gold, but he doesn't understand the correlation between cutting interest rates and inflation and make things worse. He thinks cutting inflation is going to drive the market. Yes, when you had a 70% debt to GDP ratio and you lower interest rates to inject new easy currency into the system, yes, because you're going to make $130. You're going to make $1.30 on every dollar you spend on production. But when you're at 130, 120%, you make new currency, you're only going to get 80 to 70 cents of production. You're not going to get the full production value when your debt to GDP ratio is so high. He doesn't understand economics. He needs smarter people.
Oh, definitely. He needs someone like Piper here, to teach him some economics. But
this is where I live in the macroeconomic world. So macro 101. There's professors out there right now turning over in their grave watching what's going on with Washington, D.C. So
our founding fathers. Look, I love Trump. I think he's one of the greatest politicians. He was the only person that could have come back the way that he came back after they threw everything in the kitchen sink at him. I think he is one of the most brilliant political strategists out there because he doesn't care. He just does it. He's a one hell of a ball of energy that can't be stopped. He's like an unstoppable train or whatever, unmovable.
The power of persistence.
The power of persistence. That is Trump's power. I love him for that. But when
nobody does it better. Nobody. Everybody knows it.
No, yeah, exactly. Nobody does it better. Exactly. Everybody knows it. But dude, he gave us a bill of goods. He lied to us. He said he was going to follow the Argentinian model, which was cut all the government programs, cut spending. He did the complete opposite. The complete opposite. He got rid of the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. Like everything that he said he was going to do, he started in the beginning, and then he had the bumping of heads with Elon, and then he just reneged on it.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the big, beautiful bill is not beautiful?
It's a horrible bill. It's a big, ugly bill.
Oh, I know it is. I'm just messing with you.
Dude, like my MAGA friends, I don't know. I'm not sure if they understand. But, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for the people. It's making us poor, and we what we need is we need a Malay, a true Austrian economist running for office who actually understands economics, who has the cojones to do what Trump did. If we can stick Trump into Malay's brain,
that'd be so awesome.
He could conquer the world.
But hey, fellas, I gotta hop off here.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you for joining us today. And I hope to see you on future episodes as well.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Billy, LBC, Daniel.
Thanks,
guys. Have a good one, guys.
Later.
That's the problem with politicians. It's like Obama was a great speaker and pleasant guy, right? As far as people liked him and he was calm and seemed professional and, and then you got Trump who's
brash and
abrasive, but like he gets things done. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't, he just goes, and it's like you always get, it's like you can never get that whole person that has all parts of what you need. There's always an opportunity cost to one of them. And it's like, oh God, man, if we could just find that one guy that gets it. Our lady, that gets it, but it's just like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. It's like the Cleveland Browns, man. I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, man. It's just not going to happen.
I mean,
or the Dolphins.
They're running in a system though that has incentivized them to act like this. Hey, well, it doesn't matter. Deficits don't matter. So if I just print money and give it to the people that voted for me, well, I'd say, yeah, it is currency. But if I just print this fiat dollar and I give it all to all the people that voted for me, here's this entitlement program, here's this entitlement program. You wanted money in your park, you wanted money for your farms, you needed this, you needed that, you voted for me. Well, here's a bunch of new dollars and we're just going to throw it your way. As soon as they figured out that it didn't matter, that's what they did. And they're incentivized to act like a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And that's why it keeps going that way. Trump spent just as much money in his term running on deficits as everyone else did. And that was, it helped your economy for a little bit, but like it doesn't help you in the long run. And you can't say you're America first and then act like that. I'll call him out on that because that's straight up nonsense. You want to say, oh, we want to make America better. Well, the first thing you got to fix if you want to make America better is the dollar.
The first thing we need to fix the money, fix the world. We need to make the money gold and silver again. And then we need to destroy the banks, like Napoleon Bonaparte tried to do when he was conquering Europe. He hated the banks. That's why the banking cartel tried. They funded the British to overthrow Napoleon because Napoleon understood how the banks were stealing the wealth of the French people and destroying the economy and trying to control the monarchy.
I mean, it's the same fight Andrew Jackson did. They hated him. They hated him. They vilified him as a president because he just decided that you guys are absolute scumbags and we are not going to allow it. There will be no central bank 1, there will be no central bank 2, and you guys will never exist. And then lo and behold, here we come, 1913, we have a bunch of business leaders that die on the Titanic, and then all the other ones that were opposition to them were like, guess what? We're going to make a central bank. And the government said, cool. And then the Fed decided that they were going to, they're not even lying about it. They tell you that it's a worthless piece of paper that has no value besides confidence.
Yeah.
It's on their website. They don't even hide it.
They don't hide it. They tell you that the fiat, the Federal Reserve note has no intrinsic value. And not only did Jackson hate the banks, our anti-federalist third president, Thomas Jefferson, hated the banks too. And this is one of my favorite quotes, and I think we just need to put this in the front of everybody in the country. Quote, I believe that the banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. That's exactly what has happened.
That's what happened. It's exactly what happened. Yep.
We own nothing. We own nothing. Well, I do, but most people don't. And if once Florida gets rid of their property taxes, like we're going to be voting to put in our constitution, we truly own our land in Florida.
Yeah, that's. I hear Ohio's thinking about that too.
Yeah, the
Wyoming,
property tax.
Wyoming's thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we need to get rid of property taxes because we don't live in a communist state. We should be able to own our land and pass it on to our children, and that we shouldn't have to pay taxes where we live. when we are no longer productive members of society and we just want to live the rest of our lives before we leave our maker, we don't need to worry about paying the tax man and worry about the government putting us in a home. It's another injustice, which is, it's not a sound money thing, but it should be. Should be. We're a single issue organization. I'd love to run the cause for property taxes, but we're just trying to fix the money first. Fix the money, fix the world.
And you know, I wouldn't have a problem as a great step forward to go back to or create some gold standard of some kind. I would love that. I think all of us here would agree that if we could get back on some sort of gold standard, to me, that's a great first step versus the system that we have now with just printing money back by absolutely nothing, right?
So
So
as long as they run it correctly and they don't do what they did up to
exactly,
running up to
DC.
Nixon.
Agreed.
If,
So
if they
you gotta
hadn't
tweak
done
it.
that, then the gold standard could have lived. But
Right.
they played the game wrong and they inflated their currency supply because of war. If you just nix out all of that and you're actually honest and you're not overrunning your actual physical dollars on gold deposits, then the gold currency gold backed would actually flourish and you'd see a little bit of stability start walking back into your life.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm giving it a coffee order.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, no, dude. Coffee is life. Coffee
It
is almost
is.
as important as gold and silver.
So can you just pay in the coffee beans then? Is that work? Would you accept a coffee bean?
I had no coffee and I was desperate. I would give you my kingdom for coffee.
All right. Well, you heard it there first.
That's not inflation. That's supply and demand.
Ah.
To your point, yes, when we were on the gold and silver standard, they just printed currency and stole our wealth and debased the currency. However, that's because we had a pegged system. If they inflated the dollar and it was a floating system where the free hand of the supply and demand could do, and gold and silver could account for the inflation, we'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because this currency is still partially backed by gold. Even if it was backed 100%, and then we just kept track of how much they printed and debased, eventually like free floating gold will go up and keep up. You know, so it's as long as it's free floating, gold will always do an accounting of the currency in the system, right?
That'd be a whole lot easier to do if we didn't have such a big government that's worried about so many things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, well, if we had a gold and silver standard, we wouldn't be having perpetual wars. We wouldn't be American empire with military bases all around the world, because the only way an empire can maintain its empire is through the printing of currency or the debasement of the real money. Because every empire has to debase their currency to keep their military in power. If we didn't have a fiat currency, and if the empires, the Roman Empire, the Athenian Empire, every empire, the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, didn't debase their currencies, they wouldn't be a superpower, but they'd still be a powerful economy. They'd still be a powerful nation. But that's the problem. That is the 7 steps to empire, and we are now I think we're in step 6 or 7. We're
transitioning from 6
to 7. We are transitioning from 6 to 7 right now in the stages of empire. And it's horrible because every other empire was in a gold and silver standard on the planet. They just debased their currency and other nations didn't accept it. The whole planet for the first time in the existence of our species is on a fiat standard. This is unprecedented. There's no historical point that we can look at for the entire planet being in the system. Over 6,000 fiat currencies have come to existence. They've all gone to zero. We've never had a global one. And it's scary. And that's why I was first financially prepping, and then I became a regular prepper because I'm like connecting the dots. I'm like, you're right. We've never had an entire planet on fiat, and the system has to go to zero because every single one has in the past.
Well, and the whole way that this is set up is a race to zero, because
Yeah.
the only way you win by paying back your debt, you only took it out on a nominal basis. So I took out $1,000. But if I can devalue my currency and only pay you $500 worth, but the number says 1,000, you win. And that's what this race has been. It's a race to the bottom, and the only winners are the people that have been stacking. That they're buying land. They're buying physical assets. They're buying things that are actually physical, and if anything happens, you'll be okay. It's like, oh,
Well, I'm
I've
buying
got
Bitcoin too, though. I am buying, just full
Well,
disclosure.
I have,
I'm buying
but
Bitcoin
I'm using it so that I can do things and buy physical assets. I want to
Yes.
buy land with it. I want to buy a house with it. I want to have all of these other
Yeah,
things
yeah.
where when everything goes to crap, because it's going to go to shit. It is going to go to shit. It's 100% guarantee, just like he said, that every fiat currency has gone to zero. And why the fuck should ours be any different? Why? Because we're not on YouTube. I can cuss.
Okay.
But like just because we're the currency that oil is bought with, who cares? Like, that doesn't give your currency value.
Did he just censor himself?
Yeah.
Or was there a filter? 'Cause that was good. It was like a filter.
That was close one. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that one. But like, who cares? You're not
No, yeah.
We're the reserve asset. Well, guess what? We're not the reserve that we used to be. We used to have a 70% reserve ratio across the world. You know what it's at today? 54%.
Oh,
We trust our dollar, and other countries don't. So
Yeah.
if that doesn't tell us something, I don't know what would.
I think BC, we got to get you running for office, man.
I would like to.
You're getting passionate. Yeah, take that passion and put it to work, man. Yeah.
Are you Canadian, BC?
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
at all. Never.
Okay. Somebody lived in Canada. I forget. I thought
Alex O is Canadian. You know Alex O, Daniel?
Alex O
maybe.
Crypto. There's also JR. I know he was in the chats today, so he's also
Gotcha.
Canadian.
Where do I find this broadcast on X? What do I need to search?
It is on my account. So I believe it's Blackie Chan 577. I can share that with you. I followed you on X recently, so
See it.
Am I following you, BC? By
yeah,
Alex?
I tagged you. I
Okay.
tagged you. So
Let me see, man. Let me see.
I'm following you. If you're not following me,
I
I
should
feel
be.
insulted, Billy.
Exactly. I would too, brother. I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right.
I'm just here.
I got to pull that. I want to share it on our channel. Yeah, man. I feel you, and that passion is how I was passionate earlier. But yeah, man. Like, there has to be a day of reckoning for the evils of the fiat economy, and it's evil. It is the powers that be that created this system, which was John Maynard Keynes and the Bretton Woods system. Like, look, they immediately debased the currency once the Federal Reserve was created by 60%, and they just kept printing and kept stealing. They knew what they were doing. The bankers knew exactly what they're doing. That's why they went in secret to Jekyll Island. They hid their identities. They lied about their identities. They went to there to come up with the Federal Reserve System, because the bankers have always wanted to control. Dude, once we gave the bankers the control over the printing of the currency, that's it. We signed our death warrant. They started stealing from us because they just see us as forms of economic energy that they could steal and siphon from us. That's exactly what we are. We are just as the communists saw us, right? This is Karl Marx, which is the root of Keynesian economics. John Maynard Keynes loved Lenin and Marx. He quoted them all the time, and how brilliant the central bank concepts that he pushed with the central bank, the Federal Reserve.
Well, I mean, Keynes said by continuing a process of inflation, governments can confiscate secretly and unobserved an important part of the wealth of their citizens. He
Yeah.
literally said it. He told y'all what he was trying to do.
Yeah. And we, not one in a million men would be able to detect the theft. And it's true. Now with the advent of the internet, now with the advent of AI and everything, it's much easier to actually check the crazy tinfoil hat people like us and see if what we're saying is true. It is 100%. And the best book with all the sources and footnotes that you can buy and read. It's a big book if you're into reading. It's like 630 something pages. Is the Creature from Jekyll Island by
I read that years and years ago. Great book.
Yeah, you want
I'll
to
have to add
see.
that.
Yeah, if you want to see how evil the banks were starting around 500 years ago. Look, the banks started off as vaults for gold. That's it. And then they thought, like, how do I take advantage of this? Like, because these guys never come pick up the gold. So what they started doing was the warehouse receipts for the deposit of gold. They started writing more because people trust the bullion depository, the guy, because hey, look, there's full gold. It's great to put it in there. Put it in, and he started fractionally reserving the gold. That's where banking started, and that's when they started stealing the wealth of the depositors and then the people. You know,
And when the
and
people go running back to the bank to try and get something out, and it's not there, all of it there. No,
yep.
Well, I
And then
mean,
Jekyll Island is Jekyll Island, South Carolina,
Georgia.
LBC, or it's right at the border there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
oh really?
well,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Oh, wow.
this is a big part of why the Bible talks so negatively about banking. That the lending of money is called usury, and usury is a sin.
Interests. Yeah.
And it for interest specifically, and like it's considered a sin in the Bible, and there's a reason for it, because look at what happens with it. Look how you go from point one, oh well, it's good, we got some benefit from it, but look how quickly it is eroded absolutely everything, and it makes it impossible to live.
Yeah. And,
No, man, I told my wife this, but I would only be on here for an hour, so
Yeah, I got to
an
roll
hour,
too.
45 minutes in.
It's
So.
my anniversary, so I really got to roll.
All right, well, we can wind it on down then. We might have to do a whole nother episode talking about the dollar, because there's so much to be said on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There is, man. Great topic.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely glad that all of you could join. I wish Piper could have stayed to the end, but yeah, like you said, we ran an hour and 45 minutes when we were normally supposed to do like an hour show.
Right.
But I'm glad. It's been a great conversation, and I've enjoyed having all of you on, and I hope that we can have future talks about this topic, and not just the dollar though, but actually get into how we actually fix some of this on like Daniel is doing with legislation, and how we have to come together as a people and actually push this, because if we don't, the fiat that we're running on is going to destroy things unless we step in its path and be like, look, we're done with it.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, Daniel took like 99.9% of my talking points, which is perfectly fine. He could break it down way better than I can. So
Sorry about
I
that,
appreciate
man.
you. No, you're good. I appreciate you coming on here, Daniel. That was amazing, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. With the policy stuff and whatnot. So I think that's what BC was talking about pre-show, was that you're working on some policy stuff. So yeah, man, that's amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, man. And if you guys want to support us, we are a nonprofit. We have a Pioneer membership at $25 and $100 level. And you can go to our website, citizens4soundmoney.org, and become a Sound Money or Citizen Sound Money Pioneer. If you do $100, you will receive a digital ounce of silver from us from Kinesis. So really, you're only paying like $46 or $48 for the membership versus $100, because you're going to get about a $52 silver ounce for free. And it literally goes to us. Like one thing that we're doing at C4SM is we need to raise more capital. Lobbying and doing everything we're doing isn't free. So if you want, you guys are part of the Sound Money movement, and we need to join forces. Join Cities for Sound Money, and then get our updates, get our emails, and when we're in your state or when you want to do something or come to one of our seminars or participate in one of our seminars for education, come out. We'll be emailing. We're doing broadcasts every week now. We're building our footprint. We hired some staffers. I'm no longer the only employee. We have a director of operations and a media specialist. So we're growing. We got our TV show coming out. And for anybody listening, if you support changing the world and fixing the money, support our organization. We're the only nonprofit in the country doing it.
Amazing.
Daniel, we have our show Billy Goat Tales tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to, I can send you a link if you want to come on and talk a little bit about that organization. I don't know what you're doing tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time, but if you want to come on, I would love to have you on, man. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I have dinner plans tomorrow.
Okay.
But I could come on for a few minutes and do a.
Well, no, we'll do it another time. I just was thinking, since it's a good cause, it really is a good cause, and I would love to see us adopt a gold standard again. That would be awesome. So,
yeah,
but done right, BC, of course, yeah.
Yeah, next Sunday I'm going to be in Missouri doing a seminar. But the following Sunday, if you only do them on Sundays, so what is that? I should be able to come on. Let's see, that's going to be November 1st. So if you're having one November 1st, I'll come on and talk about.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. Yeah, I'll write it down on our calendar and send you a link.
All right, perfect.
Okay. But I got to roll, BC. Thank you very much, LBC. Thank you guys for inviting me on. It was a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise.
Thanks for coming on, and hope to see you at another episode. And
yes, sir.
For all the watchers, we got 140 people over on X. I appreciate every single one of you tuning on in today.
Wow.
I hope to see you at future episodes. If there are any topics you would like to see us discuss, we want to tackle the issues that kind of affect the everyday person and maybe not come to an agreement, but at least air out some of the grievances and have a discussion, and we want to cater it to you guys. So hope to see you at future episodes, and I will see you at the next one.
Mad love.
Later.
Counter this, counter that. Freedom's more than tit for tat. Words can build or words can break. Speak the truth for all our sake. A hand that feeds can also bind, but peace can free a restless mind. Fix the cracks, don't paint them bright. The world's not whole without the fight. So rise and speak, don't just comply. Change the script, don't live the lie. Counter this, counter that.